Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually felt calm? Not distracted, not numb, not buried under endless scrolling or late-night worries. I mean truly calm, your chest light, your mind steady, your breath unforced. If you're like most people, maybe you can't even remember. Because lately, the nights feel heavier, don't they? You lie down, close your eyes, and instead of sleep, the thoughts come rushing in. What if I fail? What if I lose them? What if tomorrow collapses on me? The more you tell yourself to relax, the louder the noise gets. And then morning comes and you play the part. You smile at coworkers, you nod at friends, but inside, a quiet battle rages. You replay mistakes that can't be undone. You argue with people who aren't even in the room. You rehearse disasters that may never happen. And in those moments, it feels like worry has become your default setting. Like you don't live life anymore, you survive it. Here's the hard truth. You're not the only one. Most of us are lugging around invisible weights. Finances, health scares, fragile relationships, the endless pressure to figure it all out. We obsess over things we can't control and ignore the few things we actually can. We consume more information in a single day than our grandparents did in a year, and most of it does nothing but fuel anxiety. No wonder your chest feels tight. No wonder peace feels like a luxury. Now, here's a twist you might not expect. The answer isn't hiding in another app, another productivity hack, or even another therapy session, though those can help. The answer might actually come from a philosophy that's over 2,000 years old. A way of thinking that guided Roman emperors through wars, exiles, plagues, betrayals, and still left them clear-headed, calm, and unshakable. A philosophy built not on escaping chaos, but mastering yourself in the middle of it. I'm talking about Stoicism. And before you roll your eyes, no, you don't need a degree in philosophy, and this isn't about memorizing dusty quotes. This is about practical, battle-tested tools that ordinary people like you, have used for centuries to quiet the storm inside. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover 9 Stoic habits that can free you from the constant grip of worry. These aren't tricks. They aren't quick fixes. They're deep shifts in perspective. Simple enough to practice today, but powerful enough to change how you live tomorrow. Each one comes with a small exercise, something you can actually do, right here, right now. By the end of this video, you'll have a 1-page Stoic checklist that you can return anytime anxiety tries to take over. So if you've ever felt powerless against your own mind, if you've ever wished you could just breathe without the weight pressing on your chest, stay with me. Because what you're about to learn is not abstract, and it's not optional. It's survival. It's strength. It's the calm you've been chasing, finally within your reach. And it all begins with the first habit. A habit that sounds dark at first, but maybe the very thing that sets you free. Habit number 1, premeditatio malorum, the preparation for hardship. Think about how many hours you've wasted fearing things that never even happened. You imagine the breakup, the job loss, the accident, the humiliation, and though none of it has arrived, your body reacts as if it's already here. Your stomach knots, your chest tightens, your mind spins. Worry thrives in this gap between what is real and what might be. It convinces you that by endlessly rehearsing disasters, you're preparing for them. But the truth is, you're just reliving pain that doesn't even exist. The Stoics had an antidote for this. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It wasn't about being pessimistic. It was about stripping fear of its power. Seneca put it simply, he robs present ills of their power who perceive their coming beforehand. By calmly visualizing what could go wrong before it happens, you disarm it. You see the worst, accept it, and suddenly, it loses its bite. Here's how you can do it. Before a meeting, an interview, or even just to start your day, pause for 2 minutes. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what might go wrong today? What insult might I face? What loss could I endure? Picture it clearly, not to scare yourself, but to prepare. Then remind yourself, if this happens, I will meet it with composure. I will not be broken. It's like mental armor. When reality comes, it can bruise you, but it cannot shatter you. Try it tonight. Imagine tomorrow's obstacles. Breathe through them and tell yourself, I am ready. That's the power of Stoicism, not pretending bad things won't happen, but practicing so that when they do, they never own you. But there's one catch. Even if you train yourself to face imagined evils, there's still a deeper trap that steals your peace, spending your energy on things you can never control. And that brings us to the second Stoic habit. Habit number 2, the dichotomy of control, 2 buckets for your mind. How many times have you stayed awake replaying something you could never change? An awkward comment, a missed opportunity, the silence of someone who never texted back. Or maybe it's a future that haunts you, the job you might not get, the diagnosis you fear, the approval you desperately chase. You tell yourself, if I just think about it a little longer, maybe I'll find a way to fix it. But deep down, you know the truth. No amount of worry will rewrite the past or guarantee the future. And yet, you keep feeding the fire. Epictetus, once a slave, taught the simplest and most liberating principle in Stoicism. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. That's it. Life, divided into 2 buckets. Bucket 1, what you can control, your choices, your actions, your attitude, your integrity. Bucket 2, what you cannot control, other people's opinions, final outcomes, the weather, most of the future. Anxiety grows when you spend your energy on the wrong bucket. Peace grows when you invest only in the right one. Here's how to apply it. The next time you catch yourself spiraling, pause and ask, which bucket does this belong to? If it's bucket 2, release it. If it's bucket 1, act. Didn't land the job? You can't control the decision. But you can sharpen your skills, apply again, stay steady. Someone insulted you online? You can't control their words. But you can control whether you sink to their level or rise above with dignity. This simple test, the control test, can become your mental filter, cutting worry off at the root. Say it out loud or write it down. I control my actions, not the world. Let those words settle into your chest. Because when you live this way, you stop scattering your strength against brick walls, and you start walking through open doors. But even if you master this, another enemy waits. Worry often doesn't come from within. It's imported. It seeps into the headlines you read, the feeds you scroll, the people you let into your mind, which is why the third Stoic habit is so crucial. Habit number 3, limit your inputs, guarding the gates of your mind. Be honest. How often does your anxiety come from something that isn't even yours? A headline screaming doom, a friend's angry political rant, a stranger's highlight reel on social media that makes you feel behind. You weren't anxious 5 minutes before, but now your chest feels heavy. Why? Because worry is contagious. Most of the storms in your head aren't born there, they're imported. The Stoics understood this danger long before smartphones existed. Seneca warned, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. He wasn't just talking about friends. He was talking about everything you consume. You can't flood your mind with garbage and expect peace to grow. Here's how to practice it. Guard your mind like it's sacred. Unfollow accounts that leave you bitter, insecure, or reactive. Limit your news intake to 5 or 10 minutes a day, just enough to stay informed, not enough to drown. Step back from people who constantly gossip or complain, and instead seek those who lift you higher. Even one small boundary makes a difference. Think of your attention as a garden. If you don't pull weeds, they'll choke the flowers. Try this rule for a week. 5-5-0. 5 minutes of headlines. 5 minutes of deep reading from a trusted source. 0 mindless scrolling before noon. You'll be shocked how quickly your mental state shifts when you stop feeding your brain poison. Say it with conviction. I protect my mind like a warrior. Because peace isn't passive, it's defended. And if you want calm, you must build strong gates at the entry points of your mind. But here's the thing. Even if you filter what comes in during the day, your mind still carries the weight of everything you've lived through. And if you never release it, it follows you into the night. That's why the fourth Stoic habit is about reflection, turning the chaos of the day into clarity before you sleep. Habit number 4, nightly review, clearing the mind before sleep. How many nights have you fallen into bed exhausted, only to be ambushed by your own thoughts? The day replays in your head, the awkward thing you said, the task you left unfinished, the way someone looked at you. You scroll your phone to distract yourself, but the silence always returns, and with it the weight of every regret and unfinished story. No wonder your sleep feels shallow, your mornings heavy. You're carrying yesterday into today, and the burden never ends. The Stoics refuse to end their days this way. Seneca described his ritual. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said. Reflection wasn't punishment. It was freedom. By reviewing their actions each night, they turned chaos into clarity, worry into wisdom. Instead of being haunted by unprocessed thoughts, they close the book on the day and open the next with peace. Here's how you can do it. Before bed, take 5 minutes. Sit quietly or write in a notebook. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I handle well today? Where did I let emotions or outside events control me? What can I improve tomorrow? That's it. No self-condemnation. No beating yourself up, just honest observation. This practice rewires your mind. You begin to notice patterns, to see progress, to catch yourself earlier when worry tries to sneak in. Try it tonight. Write even a few lines. And notice how your chest loosens, how your mind softens. Sleep comes easier when you know you face the day with honesty. Say it to yourself. I review, I release, I renew. This is how you stop dragging yesterday's weight into tomorrow. But even when you make peace with your own past, life will still hand you blows you never wanted. Losses, failures, betrayals. And that's where the 5th Stoic habit becomes not just useful, but essential. Learning not only to accept fate, but to love it. Habit number 5, amor fati, loving the fate you did not choose. Think back to the last time life blindsided you. Maybe it was a job you didn't get, the relationship that collapsed, the diagnosis you never saw coming. In that moment, you resisted. You replayed the what-ifs. You wish reality were different. And the harder you fought against what already happened, the deeper the wound cut. Because resistance doesn't stop pain, it multiplies it. The Stoics taught a radical alternative. Amor fati, the love of fate, not just enduring what happens, but embracing it as part of your path. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle isn't blocking your life. It is your life. Seneca and Epictetus lived this truth daily, facing exile, poverty, and slavery. They didn't pretend those hardships were pleasant, but they chose to see them as fuel for growth instead of anchors of despair. Here's how you can practice it. The next time something unwanted happens, pause. Take a slow breath. Whisper the words amor fati. Then ask yourself, how can this help me grow? What strength is being forged here? What lesson hides inside this pain? Instead of letting the event use you, you decide to use it. The breakup becomes a path back to yourself. The failure becomes your teacher in humility and persistence. The illness deepens your gratitude for each breath. Say it firmly, I don't just accept my fate. I love it because it is mine. When you begin to live this way, worry transforms into curiosity, pain into wisdom, and life, even at its hardest, becomes meaningful. But there's still another thief of peace waiting. Even if you embrace fate, anxiety will creep back in the moment you abandon the present for the ghosts of the past or the phantoms of the future. That's why the 6th Stoic habit is about anchoring yourself in the only place worry cannot survive, the present moment. Habit number 6, presence, the power of this moment. So much of our suffering doesn't come from what's happening right now. It comes from the times we abandon the present. We drag the past behind us like a corpse. We project disaster into the future and live it 100 times before it even arrives. That's why your mind spins at night. That's why your chest feels tight in the middle of the day. You're rarely here. You're everywhere else. The Stoics knew this trap. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, confine yourself to the present. He also wrote, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same reason you arm yourself with today. The message is simple. The only moment you truly own is this one. Worry hijacks your mind by pulling it into times that don't exist. Presence takes that power away. Here's how to anchor yourself. Throughout the day, stop and ask, where am I? Am I here or lost in what-ifs? Then return to your senses. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Listen to the hum of life around you. Feel your breath moving in and out. Small moments of awareness cut through the fog. While sipping coffee, notice its warmth. While walking outside, notice the air on your skin. While speaking with someone, give them your full attention. Try this mantra, right now is enough. Because in this moment, you are alive. In this moment, no disaster has struck. No loss has destroyed you. No future has arrived to crush you. Right now, there's only now, and that is already power. Say again, right now is enough. The more you practice presence, the less room fear has to live. But presence alone is not enough, because sooner or later, life will test you with storms you didn't ask for. And when those storms come, there's only one way to make sure they don't break you. You must train yourself ahead of time to endure discomfort on purpose. That's the 7th Stoic habit. Habit number 7, voluntary discomfort, training for the storms. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort. The soft bed, the easy meal, the convenient shortcut. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying comfort until it becomes a cage. Because when life inevitably rips it away, the smallest hardship feels unbearable. You panic, not because the challenge is too big, but because you've never trained for it. The Stoics chose a different path. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men of his time, would deliberately sleep on the floor, wear rough clothing, and eat the simplest food. Why? To remind himself that he could lose everything and still be whole. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared?" Voluntary discomfort shrinks fear by making the unfamiliar familiar. Here's how to apply it. Once a week, choose a small hardship. Skip a meal. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of driving. Say no to an indulgence you usually give into. Rise earlier than you want and face the hardest task first. Each act whispers to your nervous system, I can endure more than I think. Over time, you build resilience. Loss, rejection, failure. They don't crush you the same way, because you've already tasted their edge by choice. Say it to yourself, I grow stronger through challenge. Because storms will come whether you want them to or not. Better to have walked in the rain before the sky opens. Better to train your mind and body when the stakes are small, so you remain unshaken when the stakes are everything. But there's an even deeper shift ahead. Even if you toughen yourself against discomfort, worry still thrives when you obsess over results. Outcomes no one can guarantee. The 8th Stoic habit is the antidote. Stop chasing appearances and start living by virtue. Habit number 8. Focus on virtue, living by values, not outcomes. Think about how often your worry comes from chasing results you can't control. Will this work? Will they approve? What if I fail? The more you obsess over outcomes, the more anxious you become, because outcomes live outside your grasp. You can't dictate how the world responds. You can only choose how you show up. The Stoics flipped the script. For them, success wasn't measured by victory, fame, or recognition. It was measured by virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Epictetus put it plainly. Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. Virtue, courage, honesty, self-discipline, kindness was a scoreboard that actually mattered. And the best part? Living by virtue is always within your control. Here's how to practice it. Before acting, ask not, will this make me win? But is this the right thing to do? Before speaking, ask not, will they like me? But is it true? When you fail, ask not, do I look foolish? But did I grow? This shift untangles you from the anxiety of results and anchors you in the integrity of your own choices. Try today. In one decision, big or small, let virtue, not outcome, guide you. Maybe it's telling the truth, even when it costs you. Maybe it's choosing discipline over indulgence. Maybe it's showing kindness when no one's watching. In that moment, you've already won, because you acted with virtue and nothing can take that away. Say it with conviction. I live by virtue, not fear. When your conscience is clear, worry has nowhere to root itself. But even virtue gains deeper meaning when framed by the greatest reminder of all, that life is short, fragile, and uncertain. Which brings us to the ninth and final Stoic habit, the one that gives weight to every choice you make. Memento mori, the remembrance of death. Habit number 9, memento mori, remembering death to live fully. Most people spend their days as if life is guaranteed. They postpone joy. They delay courage. They put off love until someday, and then they wonder why anxiety follows them like a shadow. But the Stoics held a quiet practice that burned away illusions and cut worry at the root. Memento mori, remember that you must die. At first, it sounds grim. Why dwell on death? But the truth is, ignoring death doesn't make you safe. It makes you careless. Remembering death doesn't make life darker. It makes it sharper, richer, urgent. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. The point wasn't to be morbid. It was to be awake. Here's how you can practice it. Each morning, whisper to yourself, I am not promised a night. Each evening, say, if today were my last, did I live it well? When you argue with someone you love, ask, if this were our final conversation, would I be proud of these words? When you delay the work that matters, remind yourself, time is not infinite. You don't control how long you have, but you control how you use it. Try this small exercise. Carry a token, a ring, or even just a phrase on your phone's lock screen that says memento mori. Let it interrupt your distractions. Let it pull you back to what actually matters. Because when you live with death in mind, you stop sweating the petty anxieties and start seizing the moments that count. Say it clearly, I will die, and because of that, I choose to truly live. And this is the final Stoic habit, the one that frames all the rest. Presence, virtue, acceptance, resilience, they all gain weight under the shadow of mortality. For when you remember death, you no longer waste life. You've now walked through 9 timeless Stoic habits, 9 tools sharpened by centuries of human struggle. Maybe one of them hit you harder than the rest. Maybe it was a reminder to focus only on what you can control. Maybe it was the nightly review or the courage to whisper more fatty when life hands you something you never wanted. Or maybe it was memento mori, the final truth that gives weight to everything else. But here's the thing, knowledge alone won't quiet your mind. Habits will, action will. You don't need to master all 9 today. You don't need to become a perfect Stoic by tomorrow morning. You only need to choose one practice and live it. Start tonight, or start with your first breath tomorrow. Write it down. Say it out loud. Anchor yourself. Because every small act of discipline builds a wall against worry. And I'd like to hear from you. In the comments, share the habit you'll begin with. Not because it's trendy, not because anyone is keeping score, but because your choice might inspire someone else who's struggling silently. We are stronger when we walk this path together. If this message has brought you even a moment of calm, pass it on. Send it to a friend who can't sleep. Share it with someone who's drowning in overthinking. The Stoics never kept their wisdom for themselves. They pass it forward so others can endure. You can do the same. And if you're ready to go deeper, stay connected. There will be more journeys ahead. How Stoicism can shape your mornings, how it can ground you during conflict, how it can carry you through loss. Each step builds on the last, and each one makes you steadier. You weren't born to be tossed around by every fear and doubt. You were born to master yourself. And that mastery begins here, with the choice you make right now. So take that choice, choose one habit, live it today, and then come back for the next step. This is only the beginning.